You're on a date. It's going well, until those little red flags start waving. It's a comforting way to explain why relationships haven't worked out, but what if that explanation misses the point entirely? What if it is not about who you're re-attracting, but who you're re-choosing to let into your life? The idea of being attracted to someone often gets mistaken for some external force you have no control over, like being pulled in by gravity. And profile blurbs that highlight the external traits people think will stand out. If someone struggles to share their feelings, doesn't prioritize you, they rebuilt to be fast snap judgments based on photos. A great smile, an edgy sense of humor, or a high-status job title becomes the hook. But what does any of that actually tell you about whether someone will listen to you, respect your boundaries, or show up when things aren't convenient? Instant gratification shortcuts reflection. You swipe, match, and over time, learn whether they're good for you or just good on paper. For some, though, the need to feel validated by a connection outweighs clarity. They focus on what's exciting at first glance. It might challenge you, but not necessarily drive you away. Thinking they'll work out the rest later, but later often looks eerily like the last time. Or always seems to keep you at arm's length. This time, they think, it'll get better. But why cling to the potential of someone who fits your old habits when building something meaningful requires stepping outside them? The choice isn't easy navigating what you want versus what you need never. So ask yourself, if you stop chasing the spark of the surface, is but recognizing that you are making a choice is the moment everything begins to change. When you wake up to the reality that you're not only attracting these people, but actively walking toward them, you finally gain the power to change direction. What might you find within yourself? And what kind of person would that allow you to truly connect with? Sometimes people are drawn to fixing what is broken because it feels like a second chance at repairing old wounds. Other times, there's a fear beneath the surface, a fear of being unwanted or alone. This makes staying with the wrong person seem safer than facing the uncertainty of leaving. It's not attraction exactly, but a set of choices guided by unexamined emotions. But attraction itself isn't a command, it's just the invitation. The real decisions happen when you respond to it. You think, it's probably nothing. Months later, you're heartbroken and wondering, how did I not see this coming? Think about the environments you grew up in. Whether it was a household filled with comforting love or one marked by neglect, chaos, or emotional distance, it shaped your baseline for what relationships should feel like. If you know the warmth of healthy communication, you might seek that in others. But if your version of love involved unpredictability, rejection, or even subtle manipulation, those dynamics can feel strangely normal as an adult. You don't consciously choose dysfunction. It's just that what mirrors your past feels oddly recognizable. And with that recognition often comes comfort, even when it works against you. Sound familiar? Stay tuned, because transforming your love life starts with spotting what you've been ignoring. Have you ever told yourself, I just keep attracting the wrong people? This is where many people get stuck. The frustration lies in the pattern, dating one person after another who carries the same emotional baggage or exhibits similar toxic behaviors. Maybe they seem charming at first or feel like exactly what you've been searching for, but eventually, the threads of inconsistency unravel. Even if it's anything but, their attention starts fading or their emotional walls go up. And suddenly you're faced with the same pain, wondering why you didn't see it sooner. But look closer. How often did the warning signs appear before things got serious, only to be waved off as minor flaws? Ignoring what's inconvenient is part of human nature, but in relationships, it's often the biggest trap. There's a quiet truth buried in this cycle. What feels familiar tends to feel safe. Take emotionally unavailable partners as an example. Now think about how dating apps amplify these dynamics. And when they see the same unhealthy patterns, there's often hope attached. What if the thing that draws you in, your so-called type, is actually working against you? It is easy to assume that being attracted to the same qualities over and over is a sign of knowing what you like. When people describe their type, they often talk about surface-level traits. Maybe it's a sharp jawline, a specific height. Media and societal standards play a huge role. Hollywood loves to feature magnetic, mysterious love interests, the ones who sweep you off your feet but never truly let you in. Social media, too, amplifies this idea of the perfect partner. Is your type really supporting your long-term goals, or is it keeping you caught in short-term cycles? Imagine walking away from appearances and chemistry that fade too quickly, and instead focusing on the values that build trust and intimacy. What practical steps could help you stop choosing what is familiar and start exploring what is authentic? Carefully curated profiles reduce people to images, captions, and aesthetic appeal. Dating apps go a step further, almost begging you to put looks and first impressions above everything else. Scrolling past hundreds of faces can make even respectful curiosity feel unnecessary. Instead of wondering about someone's values or goals, the question becomes, are they attractive enough to swipe on? It builds a mindset focused on instant gratification and surface judgments conditions, where meaningful connections struggle to take root. Or even a sense of mystery and detachment that feels irresistibly intriguing. Each time you fall for someone based on their charisma, or looks alone but miss the red flags in their actions, you chip away at your own capacity to trust. It's draining, repeating the same cycle of hope, disappointment, and frustration. And often, it becomes harder to believe that deeper, stable love even exists. As the effort to chase what looks appealing continues, the qualities that sustain real relationships, emotional communication, shared goals, respect feel like afterthoughts. Over time, your type starts looking less like a preference and more like a prison. That aesthetic pull is powerful, but it doesn't paint the whole picture. It is about recognizing that attraction can grow in surprising ways when you stop letting surface qualities dictate the entire relationship. By shifting attention to what truly matters, how they treat others, how they handle conflict, what they prioritize in life, you open yourself to an entirely different kind of connection. Michelle Panning puts it clearly, choosing partners based solely on aesthetics can lead to an emotional cost, as individuals repeatedly select partners who do not align with their deeper needs, resulting in a cycle of disappointment and unmet expectations. Often, it masks deeper patterns that are harder to admit we're attached to. Take someone who's drawn to partners who seem adventurous, mysterious, or overly independent. Those traits can feel magnetic at first, but beneath that allure, they might actually be signs of emotional distance or avoidant behavior. It is not the adventurous streak that keeps the cycle going. It's the thrill of pursuing someone who never quite seems reachable. We all have preferences, right? If you've ever stayed in a relationship longer than you should have, despite seeing their inability to truly connect, you might be familiar with that longing to feel chosen. Over and over, people find themselves drawn to partners who require chasing, as though earning their love will prove something. It starts with a spark, fueled by excitement and attraction. But that spark often burns out fast when deeper needs aren't being met. Emotional stability, trust, and genuine care get swept aside in favor of a brief rush of validation. As Michelle Panning explains, the pursuit of external validation, such as the feeling of being desired, can become a primary driver, leading to a neglect of the essential elements of a healthy relationship, such as care, respect, admiration, love, and appreciation. But what happens when those preferences lead you into similar heartbreaks, the same arguments, and the kind of relationships that feel like they're just repeating an old script? The truth is, your type might not be about compatibility at all. It could be about chasing a feeling, an idea, or even a validation of your own self-worth. Think about it. This is where the emotional trap deepens. So where does this type even come from? Now consider the emotional toll of sticking to this type. But redefining what draws you doesn't mean giving up passion or settling for less. Take a moment to reflect. If you're tired of finding yourself in the same unfulfilling relationships, the first thing to understand is that breaking the cycle takes more than just awareness. It starts with recognizing the patterns, but without clear and deliberate action, nothing changes, which keeps many people stuck in repeated patterns. To break the cycle, you have to let yourself be fully seen. Start by shifting your focus from attraction to alignment. If you're constantly seeking validation from others, it requires courage to open up and let yourself be known, without guarantees that someone else will meet you there. Attraction might open the door, but your choices decide whether you walk through it. Ignoring red flags, hoping they'll change, or settling for familiarity over true fulfillment. These are all patterns you have control over. If you start prioritizing your deeper values over the surface level appeal, everything shifts, and it begins with how you see yourself. When you embrace your worth, you stop settling for less than you deserve. So ask yourself, what do your choices say about what you value? But that is where the magic of authentic relationships exists, in the spaces where you feel safe to share your truth and be accepted for it. And if someone isn't willing or able to meet you in that honesty, it is not a reflection of your worth. It is a sign not the right match. It's because you haven't fully internalized your value yet. Something powerful happens. You stop settling. You stop entertaining people who only offer breadcrumbs of what you long for. And you start drawing in those who want to meet you, not your curated image, but the you beneath it all. Because the truth is, the power to change your love life has always been in your hands. Panning describes this well. You can't demand more from other people. And you can't get other people to buy into how valuable you are until you've bought in to how valuable you are. It's about making small, deliberate choices that reinforce your own confidence, whether that's setting boundaries, celebrating your strengths, or stepping away from situations that make you feel small. Attraction might get your attention, but alignment, shared values, compatible goals, and mutual respect is what builds something lasting. To help with this, create a list of non-negotiable values. Maybe it's emotional availability, kindness, or open communication. When you're clear on what truly matters to you, it becomes easier to spot when someone's behavior doesn't align, no matter how charming or exciting they may seem on the surface. Not just the version of you that looks appealing or easy to love, but the version that comes with flaws, insecurities, and needs. This kind of openness can feel risky because rejection stings a lot harder when someone sees the real you and still walks away. But as Michelle Panning puts it so clearly, if someone sees the whole of you and doesn't like it, cool, moving on. It's not enough to identify what's going wrong. You need to consciously do something different. And this shift begins not by focusing outward on the people you're meeting, but inward, on the choices you're making and why you're making them. One reason these cycles are so difficult to escape is the pull of external validation. Dating apps, for instance, create a kind of feedback loop where matches and messages feel like proof of your desirability. It's tempting to measure your worth by these surface-level interactions because they offer instant gratification. High-value individuals, and by that, I don't mean people with perfect lives, but those with a strong sense of their worth, are good at this. They don't waste their energy doubting whether they should leave a bad situation because they trust their ability to find a better match. And walking away doesn't have to feel like failure. It's an act of self-respect, a way of signaling to yourself and others that you want to tolerate what doesn't serve you. But here's the problem: when you focus too much on being chosen by others, you lose sight of whether those people actually align with your values. And this reliance on fleeting validation only reinforces shallow connections, leaving little room for the depth or stability a real relationship requires. Then there's the fear of vulnerability. Part of this shift also means learning to recognize red flags early and trusting yourself to walk away when things aren't adding up. So how do you make these better choices? Equally important is building your own self-worth. Finally, understand that vulnerability is your greatest strength in forming real, meaningful connections. When you start to prioritize your values, your self-worth, and your authenticity, the cycle of repeating the same relationships isn't just about who you attract, it is about who you choose to keep around.